Good morning, MegaWhale team, and welcome back to another video. Bitcoin has aggressively continued upwards into the next point of resistance just under that 115,000 level. With a near 5,000 US dollar pump over the last 48 hours, the big question is, will this strength continue into October, or is this short-term rally coming to an end? We are taking a look at the macro charts, going over the weekly and the 4-year cycle, as well as taking a look at the 3-day, the daily, the short-term, and the immediate short-term price action, discussing the key levels, technical levels, and everything you need to know about what is happening and what is likely to happen next. We'll also be finishing up on the total cryptocurrency, Bitcoin dominance, and altcoin market cap. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure, raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, you can join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in joining the VIP channel, you can do that by clicking the pinned comment of the free channel to get access to our membership sale. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump into the content. So as we can see, Bitcoin has continued quite aggressively upwards after it was able to maintain above this 50 EMA, and most importantly maintain above the downtrend of this multi-week downtrend spanning back from that 118k level, breaking through that downtrend yesterday, resulting in a reversal in the short term, then pushing back up into these major points of resistance. As we can see, the size of these candles are beginning to shrink a little bit, so we're seeing a little bit of bullish exhaustion developing already just from looking at our candles over here. And if we're zooming into an even smaller time frame, we're going to begin to start to see some bearish divergences print. We can see here momentum is beginning to come down. We are seeing the market cypher B print some red dot prints, again suggestive of a little bit of bearish strength kicking up over here, which is just a natural consequence of the price action, again aggressively pushing up into resistances and some selling pressure occurring. So the big question is, will the buyers absorb that selling pressure, facilitating continuations, or are we going to see short-term pullbacks from here? And if so, what could that mean for the short-term and the macro? We'll also discuss everything we mentioned in the intro. So let's jump over to the market data. 24-hour volume and 24-hour liquidations. Taking a look at this data, 24-hour volume up 40%, 253 billion. Liquidations up down 20%, sorry, 287 million. Pretty evenly split between longs and shorts, which is actually very surprising considering how aggressively Bitcoin and the market has pushed upwards. I think with this upward push, we also saw a heap of traps being laid on the short term. Just looking at Ethereum here on my left hand side chart, I saw a lot of sideways consolidation, a lot of absorption, and a lot of short traps actually being developed on this move upwards, and a lot of larger wicks, again flushing out higher leverage longs and shorts in this upward continuation, which would explain these near even liquidation numbers. Moving over to some more interesting data, looking at the percentage returns for Bitcoin on a monthly basis. Now that we are coming to the end of September, we can see September has pretty much nearly closed out in about 12 hours looking at the end of September here, or 24 hours, sorry, looking at the end of September here. And we're green, with 5.46% in the green. Historically, we've had more of a negative September than a green September. So we've kind of gone against the odds over here, actually printing a green September. Really in that last 2 days, that last 48 hours, from that pump from around 109,000, pushing up, we've pretty much come back from a plus 1% September to a plus 5% September. Now, October is just around the corner, and historically, so October is actually one of the most bullish months for cryptocurrency. And I put a little poll in the Telegram channel asking, what does everyone think? Do people think we're going to see a positive or a negative October? I haven't actually answered this, so I'm just going to click a random one. Let's just go positive. All right, 81% of people expecting a positive October. So again, October's historically positive. We have the 4-year cycle top coming in the 6th of October. The market has rallied aggressively into the beginning of October. There's, again, a narrative and tone being established here, which could carry forward into October, which is that the market is going to rally. This is a topic we'll discuss today. Moving to the S&P 500, curving out a little bit, again, a expected local top printed over here for the S&P 500. This is the local top until we break back through. So we break back through, we're expecting continuations, but while we are underneath this level, we do anticipate potential corrections. We already saw a bit of a correction down. We could still see corrections into this uptrend or this 6,600 level, provided, of course, we do not break through this local high. If we were going to see corrections again, it is most likely to develop right now. So we're expecting potential corrections at S&P 500, not massive corrections. We'd only expect larger corrections if this uptrend were to break. So again, sometimes flipping the chart can be handy. If you were to flip the chart inverted, we are in a strong downtrend. If we were to break above this trend line, everyone will be expecting the price to push upwards, and that is exactly what we'd expect to see if we were to break this trend line. We'd be expecting to see corrections into 6,250, okay? So watching that very closely. The DXY, not too much changing. Some recent news coming out with Israel and the USA trying to find a peace deal. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't really know much about it. But anytime there is, escalations or wars or conflicts kind of coming down to an end or has the potential to come to an end, we generally see the markets react quite positively, and that has, of course, pushed the DXY just down a tiny bit. But again, we're really anticipating what the Federal Reserve decide to do with interest rates and how they are going to review that upcoming inflation data to then determine their forward positions of interest rates. So watching that very closely. Without further ado, guys, let's jump into the rest of the content. Before we go ahead and jump into that, make sure to sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, BingX. Exchange links are down below. You'll support me making this content on a daily basis. It's the best place to support me. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15% off all your trading fees. You'll get access to every single exclusive monthly campaign we have on this channel. And of course, you'll trade on exchanges I use and I trust. Check it out, links are down below. Let's jump back in. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay team, let's go ahead and jump into it. I want to start on the 4-year cycle. I want to talk about the monthly returns. I want to talk about October. I want to talk about what people expect for October. A lot to take a look at. So let's jump into it. The 4-year cycle, guys. The 4-year cycle, a term every single person, pretty much every single person in cryptocurrency knows of, anticipates to some degree, and has been tracking at least loosely over the last few years. And you would know the 4-year cycle has played out pretty much perfectly over the course of the last few years, particularly if we're looking at this cycle. We saw a 12-month bear market, which is on track to around the 12 to 14-month pullback. We saw a 14-month consolidation, which was a little bit shorter than the prior to 16-month consolidations. And then we saw this currently 19-bar bull market starting around that $30,000 point, which was seen continue into October, continue into August, October period, which again, we've had some different theories develop. Now, in terms of the 4-year cycle, it's very important to note, the 4-year cycle is not predictive by nature. It is, I guess, as a consequence to mapping out 3 years of data, we can extrapolate that forward to be predictive, but by nature, the 4-year cycle isn't predictive. It is descriptive. It's a diagnostic indicator. It's there to tell us what has happened, how the price is moving during these periods, and then as humans, we can take that, develop this into a pattern, and then extrapolate it forward to then predict, per se, what could happen next. So in terms of the 4-year cycle, do I think the 4-year cycle top will be in October? What I think is kind of irrelevant. I think it is something we need to pay attention to. Like I've said this entire time, the 1,064-day bar period date range trend has suggested of October 6 top 2025. We've been talking about that since 2023. The October 6 top 2025, will it be the top for Bitcoin? Who knows? Will it be an important date for Bitcoin? Absolutely it will. And if everyone is expecting it to be an important date, it is likely we see some reactionary price action develop on or into October 6, which could facilitate some sort of upward move in the market moving into October 6 if everyone is expecting that to be the top. That is something to pay attention to. We've also got another theory, which was the 2-bar theory, the negative 2-bar theory. The negative 2-bar theory, as Wolves of Crypto did talk about on his channel, he mentioned a few flaws of the theory, and those flaws are completely valid. The negative 2-bar theory is a theory at the end of the day. It's only had 2 data points, not 3. We can extrapolate that forward and we can extrapolate it backwards. But what the negative 2-bar theory, in context of what it was created to show, was to show that we would see an earlier top this cycle than what the October 6 top was suggestive, not a later top. So at the moment, the negative 2-bar theory suggested early August top, which currently is the top for Bitcoin based on the current price action, provided we do not top on October 6. Now, will any of these top dates be the macro tops? Who knows? We could continue through October 6. We could see a small pullback and then continue the macro uptrend for the next few months. All of this price action is based on economic policy. It's based on societal perspective, okay? It's based on the overall tone of the market. It's based on internal events and external events. It's based on a whole range of things which the 4-year cycle does not go to describe. So what I'm trying to say is, as we approach October 6th, the 4-year cycle top, we should be paying attention to that date very, very closely, because if we do see a top, then it would, based on historical data, be a timed coincidence, meaning it would be a date and a top point which we would have to apply a little bit more significance to as it was projected in the past. If it does not, it may mean the 4-year cycle has begun to slightly break, or that our interpretation of the 4-year cycle over the last few years is not that of which has been expected. It has been a slightly diminishing cycle. I would also like to add, the 4-year cycle by nature will not indefinitely continue. We cannot extrapolate this out for 10 more years. It will very likely come to a point where it breaks. And when that happens, we'll only know at the time it breaks when it happens. We can't predict this. It is something you have to be able to look back on because it is diagnostic. So, 4-year cycle potentially coming to the October 6th top. Pay very close attention to it. I, of course, do not trade based on the cycle. I trade level and level. And as you know, Bitcoin, based on a level by level basis, has been bullish since around about, we're looking at when it actually turned bullish, when it actually ended the downtrend. We ended that downtrend all the way back at around 20,000. We had a positive momentum shift all the way back. If we're looking, this was around about September 2022. And of course, we had this structural breakout of that falling wedge structure, which was over here. I'll draw it in back in around about December, January 2023, which is when we turned bullish, 16.5K. And we have been bullish this entire time since on the macro, finally turning bearish. Okay, we turned bearish over here at 104,000, expecting a pullback. We turned bullish again at 76,000. We turned bearish again at 122.3K, and we'll remain bearish until we break back above 118. So we'll pay attention to that. But let's jump into the rest of the market. So let's start on the total cryptocurrency. The total cryptocurrency market cap is looking good and is looking bad. It's kind of looking 50-50. Now, the reason it's looking 50-50 is because on one end, we have bearish divergences and we're broken down from the uptrend in the RSI, but on the other end, we are holding above 3.65 trillion. So when we have this kind of contradiction, I like to just look at our horizontal points. So our horizontal points are always going to be better representations of demand than our diagonal trend lines, or sometimes even prior bearish divergence, which has played out already. So if we just delete this trend line, we can see the key point we are really watching is number one, we are watching momentum. So we're watching this downtrend in the RSI. If this downtrend on the RSI breaks toward the upside, that would suggest the buyers are back in control and we would likely continue upwards. And number two, we are watching the $3.65 trillion level. Again, if we break below here, that would be a bearish reversal, indicating exhaustion has developed to the point at which the point of demand has been unable to be maintained by the buyers. The price will likely undergo mean reversion to the 50 EMA. Worst case scenario, sell side liquidity. So these are potential moves for the total cryptocurrency market cap. If we do not see a bullish October, if we do not rally upwards, we could see a bearish October and a pullback into these key points of support. Again, something to pay very close attention to, but the only time this chart really turns very bearish would be the breakdown of 3.65 trillion. For us to continue upwards, this is a very important point. Bitcoin is going to have to break through this 118,000 level. We want to wrap it up very simply. Bullish trend continues above this point. Until then, we are in a downtrend still with sideways consolidation at the moment. This downtrend could potentially resume. If it does, it resumes under 108. So bullish above 118, expect all-time highs. Bearish again below 108, expect corrections to 100K. If we were to summarize the entire market up, very simply, with a clear bullish trigger and bearish trigger, those will be the points where you're watching very closely. Everything else is just going to be chop and the buyers and sellers kind of jumping between strength on the short term. We'll come back and discuss in a second. The altcoin market, guys, we have seen rejections from this 2021 top. Again, this is an assumed top for the altcoin market, provided we do not break through. For of course, this to break through, we need to see Bitcoin continue upwards. We need to see Bitcoin dominance come back down, and we need to see a positive momentum shift on the RSI. Quite a few things, so we do have potential resistance here. The altcoin market will not likely perform exceptionally well while we are under that resistance. If we do drop below the support, we will likely see corrections to the altcoin market. Let's jump over to Bitcoin now. The weekly chart for Bitcoin, as we mentioned, for the weekly chart to look very bullish again, we need to see a few things. Number one, ideally, we would like to see a breakout of this weekly downtrend. And most importantly, we want to see a break of this orange line, which is around that 117.5 to 118,000 level, which lines up perfectly with this current level of resistance marked out right over here. Okay, for the weekly chart to turn bullish officially, resulting in continuations in new highs, that needs to happen. Until then, as you can see, the downtrend is still in play with lower highs being printed. That is a sign of weakness, which could result in continuations lower. Pay attention to that. Moving over to Bitcoin, starting on the higher time frame. Looking at the 3-day chart, the 3-day chart is looking pretty solid. We saw a strong bullish engulfing candle. Currently, we're bounced from the 50 EMA. Momentum is pushing sideways. We're seeing a lot of absorption. It's a good sign the buyers are showing demand at these points, but we are in this constant battle now between these local lows and local highs, pushing sideways, deciding where the market is going to spill over to. So to decide that, we need to jump into an even smaller time frame. Looking at the daily chart, we can see we had, of course, a deviation from range with bearish divergence over here, printing a deviation setup on the weekly chart, triggering a local top. This is a local top. It was triggered. We have been essentially in a downtrend since we created a local low, 107 at the 50 EMA. We bounced up to retest these little highs over here, rejecting from these highs, telling us again, this is the point of which we need to break above to see continuations higher, what we've already mentioned. So while we remain below 117.5, we do expect potential for corrections lower. Let's take a look at what would need to happen for the price to fully correct, for us to see continued corrections down. If you want to see the next leg down, remember, the market moves in legs. It moves down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit, up a bit more. It moves in little legs. This was the down move to 107. The downward move ended. We saw reversals from the 50 EMA. We saw a breakout of that respective downtrend. We saw an upward move into resistance. We shorted over here, expecting a downward move. We saw the downward move end with the breakout of the trend line yesterday. We have now seen an upward move into a point of resistance. That point of resistance on the short term is going to be marked out by this horizontal box. Again, what is once prior support, okay, you can see prior support becomes future resistance. So this was a point of support for a period of 10 days. This was a 10-day long support. It is now turned into a point of resistance. If we are going to see any sort of pullback develop from Bitcoin during this entire uptrend here, it is most likely to occur right now at this point of resistance. Now, this is where it gets very important. If Bitcoin in this pullback is able to maintain above this prior local high, we will likely see continuations of this trend. If we are unable to remain above this local high, this trend will likely correct back down into these lows, this sell side liquidity, or potentially the change of character, meaning this entire trend will likely collapse. That is what we're watching out for. So short term, likely seeing some sort of weakness. We are seeing a short-term pullback develop. We are seeing bearish divergence in sprint. We are seeing exhaustion on the side of the buyers. If we go down to a very smaller time frame, we can see already just how strong this divergence is playing out. We've got basically a triple bearish divergence over here. You can see like that already. We are coming in to retest the 50 EMA. I'd expected the 50 EMA is lost. Would come back into this gap on the VRPV, retest our sell side liquidity. That will be the next bouncing point. But if we lose that level, we get this massive gap, which could take us back to break of structure, 112,000. Taking a look at where that would be on the 4 hourly, on the hourly, that would be just above this recent breakup point, but it would be below that prior local high at that 113 point, confirming deviation and a likely continuation in the trend. So a very complicated time for the market, as we are seeing, I guess, a lot of things happen at once. We are seeing the potential 4-year cycle come to an end. We are seeing some key warning signs continue to print on the higher time frame. We've still got the optimism in the market as a consequence to, of course, the market reaching new all-time highs just days ago. We've still got the optimism with Bitcoin dominance dropping. So we've still got a lot of optimism in the market. We've still got the hope for a continuation to the 6th of October, but the markets inherently are still under very important resistances and still looking quite weak. So it could really go either way, and that is why I'm saying watch the short term. These short-term levels are going to kind of set the tone and tell us where the market is going. If we break below this level, we could see full corrections back into these lows. If we break above this level, we will likely see continuations into these highs. And then we're talking about, are we breaking through these highs? If we do, we see continuations to all-time highs. Everything looks good. And guess what? If that happens, the 4-year cycle likely breaks, because that would take, if we're looking at where the 6th of October is, guys, if we're looking, the 6th of October, let's just go ahead and put it in right over here. You're telling me we will need to see a rally for Bitcoin of greater than 9% in just a few days to validate that 4-year cycle top. That is, we're looking at 5-6 days from now, 5.5 days, 9.26%, 9.29% just to reach the all-time high to validate the 4-year cycle top. It just doesn't seem like a realistic move. It may happen, but that would be one of the strongest moves we've seen for Bitcoin in the last year if we see that happen over that amount of time. Now, it's definitely possible, but it would be incredibly surprising and very, very strong. And for that to even possibly happen, we need to first break above 118. So if we break these resistances, it is more likely than not we also break the 4-year cycle and we continue through the October 6 point, creating a high after October 6, and therefore the potential for top 3 to begin and corrections develop are still a little bit more likely. That is it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see what happens. I'm actually very interested. I'm super interested to see how this plays out and how the 4-year cycle plays out, and I'll be following it very closely. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on Thursday. Today's Tuesday, so we'll catch you guys on Thursday to discuss the market and in our next video. Thanks, guys. See you then.